Game 23. Yeah, there are a few on that list of not very good but very fun teams, and Goblins are among them. You can have a lot of fun, but you do have to sort of shelve your desire to win because it's very, very difficult against even halfway decent coaches. 2 strip balls, and I have no sure hands. Oh, but it's on both of his Storm Vermin, so that helps. A Leaping Gutter Runner? This is a very interesting team. It's got 2 linemen out. So 11 players. There's his Rat Ogre. He's got a very good thrower. He's good at throwing. And then some other banged up linemen. Alright. Alright, alright. 110, no wizard. That is the greatest news I've had. Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time with Goblins either, but they do look really fun. Halflings just chucking things all the time, looks really fun. Ogres is that kind of craziness with tons of really strong guys that can wreck, and then a bunch of useless players. And then Vamps. I haven't played Vampires very much, but I am intrigued to try them. I just feel like it would be too much maintenance. Like, that's one thing I don't like in games. Yeah, hey, but yeah, they're just, that's just not the way you play. Like, they fling dudes. Oh man, should I kick it off because of the rain? Yeah. Yeah, they just, I mean, obviously the trees, and they're usually really low TV, so they can get sometimes a 3rd tree, which then that's just who they block with, and then the halflings just run around annoying you, or get into positions where they can assist and things like that. So I think play some defense. Why does rain make me want to kick off? Because pickups are a little bit higher, catches are a little bit harder, and because the most frequent kickoff event is changing weather, and the most frequent result of changing weather is a clear day, normal day, there's a decent chance that it will go back to normal before my drive starts. So making things just a little bit harder for him to move the ball, and potentially not making it any harder for me, is the reasoning behind that. It's especially true for teams that have trouble picking up the ball already, which is not a Skaven team. But you know, humans, Chaos Dwarves, Khemri, you know, the teams that are not so much humans, but the 2 Agi teams, you know, that kind of thing, or yeah, it can certainly change. It's the most common kickoff event because it's the natural 7. I say natural, but it's the 7 roll, so it's on 2 dice, so it's the most common event. Even though most of us would swear the blitz is the most common event against us. I think I'm gonna just put it, yeah, put it close. Cheering fans. Yeah, so the roll here was 6. 6 is cheering fans, so the second most common, or tied for the second. And 8 is brilliant coaching. So those are the 2 re-roll bonus things. And so sometimes high TV teams eventually take 1 coach assistant and 1 cheerleader just to help with those re-roll events that are reasonably common. Because gaining a re-roll or preventing your opponent from getting a re-roll can be very, very beneficial. He has 6, so he does not. That's too many in my opinion, especially for a Skaven team who has high agility. Yeah, sure hands is great. That's also another normal or a double roll, so it would be great if you could grab it. What else you could get with a doubles roll though is what is the tough choice. Right, so a double to get you sure hands, and that's, you know, one of the big weaknesses of the Lizard team. You're so strong across the board, and your guys are very quick and can move around easy. But picking up the ball, moving the ball, is kind of tough because you can't get access to sure hands very easily. You still only have agility 3. Block on the skinks is a double, you know, so yeah. And yeah, early game, late game, at some point you want sure hands to avoid that situation. Yeah, it really depends on the positional, the team, what else is going on in your team. You know, like Agiana Asaurus, not going to help you much, right? Agiana Skink turns him into a god. Because he can dodge through entire lines on a 2+, right? So he can go to any square in a dodge at 2+. Doesn't matter how many tackle zones. Strength is almost always, except in the big guy case where you're competing with block. The other one is movement. Movement on a slow guy, not great. Unless it's a tree, then there's a potential to get him to 3, which means he doesn't have to flip a coin to stand up. So some people might do that. The worst is when you roll double 5s, and you have to choose between armor, movement, or a double. And that's usually a tricky one. Armor is usually last on that list. I'm sad that armor is in the same place that movement is, because I think movement is a way better option for almost all the guys that want it than armor is. Armor's not a great choice. It helps guys survive a little longer, but you don't want your guys getting hit as much as you can anyway. So it depends on the team. And because of the prevalence of claw. Like, claw is so prevalent, especially in like the Champ's Ladder, that like taking more armor just doesn't help you because you're getting hit by claw every turn. So it's almost like a challenge to everyone, you know, hit me. So I guess you could use it as that, like just bait. I really want to hit just something simple here. Nothing defenseless, like a poor kicker.
That's a holding maneuver, if ever I saw one.
Yeah, I mean, it really does change. I mean, trees don't get knocked down too often, and you're sort of happy that they've dedicated all of the strength and assist to get him on the ground, like, but they are super slow. Obviously, once he takes root, the extra movement is just a giant waste, but the whole piece is kind of a giant waste when he hits that, so. Let's see if I can frenzy trap him. Yeah, and then movement on high movement things like skinks or elves, you know, catchers, anything at 8, even 7. It's just great. It's great for ball carriers. It's great for guys who are trying to do one-turn touchdowns. And then agility. Yeah, it's like going from 4 to 5 is pretty big. It's not that great on like a lineman piece who has trouble collecting other skills. Like if he's just a lineman with general access, then the agi bonus isn't going to help him that much. And if mostly his job is just to kill things, just stand on the line and hit things, then again agility doesn't help him, so he just turns into bloat instead of a skill he could have used to do his job better. So, but yeah, the attributes are super fun. And with certain teams can change the whole dynamic of the team. I've played an orc team where I had 3+ agility teams, and that was just super fun because I got to run around and pass the ball and do all kinds of fun stuff that you don't normally do with orcs. Chaos the same way, like with mutation access. A couple agility on their team and you can make some very weird, unorthodox players. I forgot to stand my guy up to frenzy trap him. That was the whole idea. He's just gonna cage. A bench skink is pretty good. How high is your TV? It sounds like it's getting close to like 1250, 1300. $13.50? Yeah, so you're starting to get to the point where a sub is really handy. You've probably played games where people just hunt your skinks every turn, and so you probably had games where you're starting to run low towards the second half and towards the end of the game. My guard. Oh, did I bench him again? Oh, that's terrible. I can't stay there. Yep. Yeah, so he seems like a newer player. He's starting with his big guy. He's going into a frenzy trap there. That second block roll is going to be 1 die instead of 2 dice because he walked into 2 of my assists. It's pretty irrelevant. Higher TV just means more developed teams. So good players that make good skill choices are going to get a lot more value from the increased TV than players who make bad skill choices. Like, I don't particularly like the skill choices on this guy's team. So that's when you sort of talk about bloat, right? It's like you're playing more developed teams, and if you're not making good choices, then the disparity between your two teams is that much higher, and compounded by the fact that you also might be playing worse than a coach who's very experienced, right? So that gap sort of widens if you don't make good choices. Yeah, I mean, and very good coaches with low TV teams can beat high TV teams that make poor choices, and then the lower TV experienced coach also gets some inducements that he uses better. You know, so there's so many little choices everywhere in Blood Bowl, and you get value out of all of those little things, and good coaches making good decisions versus bad coaches making bad decisions just compounds to the point where that's why good coaches win more consistently in what looks like a heavily dice-based game. Like, to a casual observer, just walks in and watches a bunch of dice being rolled, they're like, well, it's just all dice. It's just all random. Who wins, you know? But yeah, there's so much value to be gained in all of these little moments, all these little choices that that's when you get good win percentages out of good coaches. So I think I'll knock his rat down. It seems like a thing to do. Yeah, that's one of the most complicated things, especially when you factor guard into it. Once my turn is done, I'll try to explain it in the simplest. I struggled with that at the beginning too, but it's fairly easy once it's sort of explained. So I'll try to do that in a moment. He was over there, now he's over here. It's like he was here the whole time. I don't want to just blitz this guy. Get some removals. I have to be careful because he's actually faster than I am. With 9 speed on 3 of his guys. So I can overcommit to one side. Right, so assists. Yeah, you'll notice how each of these guys has a tackle zone, right? That's like around, it's the 8 squares around him. You are assisting a block if you are next to the guy being blocked, as long as you're not in a tackle zone. So if you're in a tackle zone, you don't get to assist with anything. An enemy tackle zone, I should say. But as long as you're free, then you get to assist the block being made on that guy that you're next to. Guard skirts that tackle zone rule, meaning he gives an assist regardless of whether or not he's in a tackle zone. That's why it's so powerful, because you can just jam all your guys in there and they still get to give assists. Normally you have to work it out so that you're next to the guy but not in a tackle zone in order to actually give the assist. Yeah, and they don't have to be next to the guy blocking. They only have to be next to the guy being blocked. So you can be on the opposite side of him. You can be in any of the guy being blocked, his tackle zones. So just be next to the guy you're trying to block. And then whoever you hit him with will get that extra die. Yeah, fouling is good in some situations. The thing to remember about fouling is, in general, you are more likely to lose your guy than remove theirs. And it's for the rest of the game. So if you get your guy removed, he's gone for the rest of the game. If there's a lot of results, no damage, stunned, where he just comes back the turn after, knockout where he can come back during a break. Oh, that's really unfortunate. So you're risking a player to remove one of theirs. Obviously a very low value player, like a zombie or a Noblar, or Snarling as they call them, to foul a very high value player like a War Dancer that's on the ground. The value proposition there is frequently makes it worth it, right? Because losing your little guy isn't that big a deal. If you have a bribe, then it's kind of open season until you lose that bribe, and then you got to be more careful. You can still be tossed even with the bribe on a 1 and 6, but it gives you that confidence or freedom to just bribe. You still want to do it intelligently, make sure you have a lot of assists, and use a guy that you don't mind losing. Like never ever foul with your Saurus or Crocs, which is another typical thing I see newer players doing, because you believe the stronger guy will do more damage in the foul, but that's just absolutely not true. So yeah, it's just something you don't ever want to do.
The attacker has an assist.
Oh, I could surf this guy, but
So close to a world of hurt.
I must get to the other side and get this ball. Okay, now it's a relatively easy pickup. Well, it is in the rain though, so it's a little bit more difficult. But there's the man to do the job.
Now it's just a simple matter of getting the ball at their feet. It's never simple.
Oh, I forgot this guy's a lineman. I looked out with that. Scary 1-die block. Stunned him though. That's nice. Also need to figure out a way to finish my screen here.
Apparently it's more difficult than it
I
seems.
guess I could hand it there, but that's not great.
Here comes the hand.
Oh, especially in the rain. Yeah, that was a lot of risk. Ooh, pals for all seasons. Powsy powsy. see how ambitious he is. I really just want to get him. Is Dirty Player ever worth a pickup? Absolutely. On any guy, if you've decided fouling is a part of your team's game, and it is on a lot of teams, especially bash teams that are trying to get removals as the way they win. Whoever your sort of guy is, whatever positional that you're probably a lineman or the cheapest guy you have that's going to be fouling should get Dirty Player. You should have at least one, if not two. And then if you have subs, you just assume you're going to lose them at some point during the half because they're just stomping on heads every turn. And then the zombie that's on the bench comes on for the second half. And hopefully he's done a bunch of damage in the meantime. So that's a build. And then you don't really give him anything else, right? Like, that's all he has is Dirty Player. That's his job, is to... You let everyone else throw the blocks, get people on the ground, and then he comes over at the end of every turn and steps on somebody that's convenient. And you have the much better chance of pulling off removals. Oh no! Now, oh, he'd already used his reroll on the leap. You know, that's exactly what I did, Too Tall Brown, with my early Lizard team. I just thought it was a blast. It's a questionable strategy. I don't think much of, what's the agility foul one called? Sneaky Git. I don't think much of that one. Your skinks are valuable. They're really fragile, but they are super valuable. Like, if you run out, you've lost the game because no one else can actually pick up the ball. If you run out, there's just too much space to be covered by, you know, even 7 remaining big guys. So, and they're also expensive. So it's 70K, I believe. It's hard to just kind of toss them, especially if they're getting hunted down to extinction every turn by an opposing team. So, but I had a blast doing it, I'll tell you that much. It was really fun. I think I'll surf this guy. Why didn't I start trying to do that?
Knuckle must be holding him up.
Get him up. 3 dice here. What is my catcher doing all the way over there on the ground? I can actually surf him. So...
This is going to be decisive. Oh, he's going to get intimate.
So, yeah, it can be a lot of fun. Again, it's a questionable strategy, but it depends on what kind of environment you're playing in. If you're playing in Champs Ladder, where TV management matters a lot more than in other leagues, then I would probably say it's not a great strategy. But there are environments where it can be super fun and really, really good. You can get a lot of value out of fouling, especially with the prevalence of guys who take piling on. You know, because if they just run off away from their team to hit one of your guys, pile on, and then the rest of their team is on the other side of the map, it's like that's just a great chance to surround that guy on the ground and foul him, and not having that option can be rough. This guy probably hates me for how long I'm taking. Let's get the pushes in.
Above and below at the same time.
That guy was never caught.
Don't particularly like doing it with the carrier, but
You know, a fence may solve this problem if players
gutter runner's gone is always a fun thing. Now the ball is not very well protected. I could do a 1 die here, but then it would be even less protected. Probably want to do that. I haven't blitzed yet either. Oh, a sidestepper. Running out of time. Oh, that's just pure luck right there. Oh, he doesn't have... Well, I don't have block either. Ooh, that's pure luck right there. I'm getting pretty lucky here with these POWs. Always nice. You get no SPP for surfing. Or for fouling, while we're talking about it. But it removes the guy from the field. The more guys you remove, that makes all blocking attempts later much easier because you're getting more assists and he's assisting less, and so it sort of cascades, right? Like you get more and better blocks and more and better fouls if that's your thing by just removing players. So, and if you can get, as you get more and better blocks, you get more and better injuries, which leads to more SPPs. So in that sense, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why a lot of people don't like it when you foul. Some people consider it rude because all you're doing is messing with their team for no gain, especially on like a turn 16 where the game is over. That's hotly debated, but most experienced coaches expect a turn 16 foul and consider it a sign of respect. And it can have strategic advantage, right? If I mean, there's a killer team out there that's playing in the same environment you are, and you expect to play that person again, or like in a ladder format where you're playing the same race as him or something, and you're competing. You know, you don't want him to do well. Then a turn 16 foul has value beyond the game. Yeah, some people take offense by it, but in the spirit of Blood Bowl, it's thematically appropriate, and most coaches that have been playing for any amount of time don't really get too salty if you're fouling. They expect it. They do a little themselves, even a turn 16 foul. So, for what it's worth. But yeah, unfortunately you get no SPPs from it. Yeah, I can see how you could feel bad, but I wouldn't worry about it too much.
That's what the cool kids are saying.
There's also a pretty wide range of how people feel about this game from a wanting to win standpoint versus wanting to develop a killer team. Some people just want to spend their time developing their team to the point where it's amazing. And so you're going to hurt that person's feelings with a foul a lot more readily than someone who cares about winning more than developing their team. So
Occasionally, in the struggle between brain versus brawn, brain wins.
Well, I got 3 guys over here just doing nothing. Could blitz this guy down. He's got sidestepping. No luck.
That player is looking rather smug for remaining upright. Pride comes before the fall.
You have to be able to you have to have the movement in order to move into the square that they're standing in. So if that requires a GFI, if it requires movement, then you have to make that move, and it costs you a move to finish the blitz. So for movement after you blitz, that's taken into account.
That's a holding maneuver, if ever I saw one.
It's getting a little late in the day here. I better start thinking about scoring. He's got me pretty well pinned though in this corner. This rat ogre. Exactly. If you used all your movement and 2 GFIs just to stand next to him, you would not have the extra in order to actually finish your blitz.
That's quite a mismatch, Bob.
I know. That weedy fella's gonna get splattered. Oh, I'm excited.
Alright, well, at least he's got a frenzy away from me, away from my ball carrier now.
You'll get angry.
Oh, and it's a 1 die. Risky, risky.
Joking. You're gonna love it.
What's he gonna do? Getting a guy just around, just in case a scoring opportunity presents itself.
Move right next to a teammate.
Yeah, so before this guy was assisting on this guy, so that blocks made against him would be at +1 die, but by stepping in, he's now canceling the assist because he's no longer free. He's in the tackle zone of another player. So that's one thing you can do when you're worried about people blocking certain guys, is you stand in a place that prevents them from getting an assist. I might be able to just run for it here.
Unity is strength.
Less pressure on the ball. It's a good move.
That helped, but not as much as I had hoped. G5 grabs in the rain, no problem. What a warrior. Now he can still potentially hit him. But try to make life difficult. Try to block him down. This tackler. Got the POW, very nice. Ooh, and the stun. He's not going anywhere. I'm gonna try to push him into the corner. Oh, that's lucky.
The strength of a bear. Unfortunately, fighting skills of a few though.
Mark him just in case. I don't know of what, but his team's not too damaged. He got a lot of guys pushed out, but only 1 KO, so he can come back strong in the next drive. But he didn't damage my team at all, even with his Rat Ogre being the main guy he uses. Yeah, I actually think the Storm Vermin is the more reliable blitzer he should be using to blitz each turn. Like the Rat Ogre's fun, he has Mighty Blow, it's easy to get 2-eye blocks, he gets 2 hits with Frenzy, but with a lot of the guys he's attacking having block and dodge, you're actually not getting enough good knockdowns to really do a lot of damage. So using a guy with block against guys that don't have block, hopefully guys without dodge as well, but even with dodge you can get that bolt down result, is probably more more effective at removing players. And if that's your goal, and it almost always is. Surface thrower.
If the player is pushed here, it will finish in the public.
No, we got pass. That's
much more dangerous than
maybe I'll get lucky. Ooh, I did. That's SPP and a removal. Joy. Oh, he apoed it. Okay. Well, soaked his apo. That helps. Oh, jeers. Jeez. And there with the apo, so that guy should have been fired anyway. Oh, he's a kicker though. Anyway. Yeah, because this guy got agility 5, now he's a project player, so I want to feed him every touchdown if possible, just to get him as high level as possible before this run comes to an end. Got my KO back, he didn't get his. Bad to worse. How many guys does he have now? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 to 11.
And they have to keep their heads, because it'll be on the way back to them soon enough.
I can bench my kicker. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Yeah, I was gonna say before, this is, I think, too many rerolls. A lot of newer players first start the game, have a low number of rerolls because they're trying to buy a lot of positionals, realize how important they are, and then overcompensate by buying 1 million of them. But as you get more experienced, you learn how to make less risky plays using less rerolls. You get more skills, which prevent you from needing those rerolls. You also get better with reroll discipline, which is like when not to use one and just to take the bad result to save the reroll for a later play. All of those things end up meaning you don't need, I mean, it lets you go up to 8, which is just ludicrous, but 1 for every turn. but new players get into that sense that well, I need a lot of rerolls because I make a lot of mistakes, and so their TV gets bloated a little bit, and then they're putting themselves up against better teams when they don't need to be. So 3 is almost is practically the perfect number for most teams. There are certain teams that want like 4, and there are some teams that can get away with 2. But
It has to be scoring my first
generally
touchdown.
speaking, 3 is a great number
You see, I just
for
ripped the
most
head off
teams.
this kid who gave me some lip in the changing rooms before the game. So just
He doesn't have sure hands, so
shut the ball down his throat and then lobbed his whole body into
this
the
is
end.
scary. But
Ref said it was classified as a catch, so I scored a touchdown. Yeah, the NAF changed the rules.
Skaven are super fast teams, so you want to put a little more effort into protecting against the blitz than you might otherwise, because they can get into your back row in a flash.
Be gone, fell demon.
Problem, Bob?
Plague fly in my coffee.
At least that's what they tell me. Oh, I didn't actually plan. Quick snap lets you move that one forward, so any guys that are 1 back from the line are actually, if my guys had been parked on the line where they should have been, a quick snap would allow me to get extra blocks in without blitzing. So don't put guys 1 back from the line, put them 2 back from the line, unless you have a severe like bash advantage that you're trying to maximize. But as a team that's a little weaker and has low armor like the Skaven, you don't want to give free blocks on any of your rats.
The thing about it is how it brings everyone together in a common joy of day. You have orcs, dwarfs, men, even beastmen sharing the delightful violence
Why
in the
did I-
same stadium and all desperate to see some shredding death.
Is the assist going to be enough to come out on top?
Unity is strength. Jeremiah Hughes always said superior skills prevail. It's about to get punched above and below.
Shoot my bad man. I gotta break in here. I admire that block. It paid off. Good old nothing.
Let's see if he's going to keep working on this guy. It's tough once he gets on the ground because in order to get the best wild animal roll, you have to block with him or blitz. Since he's on the ground, he can't block, so he has to blitz. So that's why I wanted to knock him down, because it forces him to either blitz with him, which hasn't been very effective so far, or risk him just staying on his back for the next turn. Yeah, see, he got unlucky. He got the worst of both worlds. On his back, easy to go by, and lost his blitz. And again, the first thing he did with his turn. So if it had failed for whatever reason,
decisive. That's a strike made with technique and precision. It's not always about sheer muscle. They're getting up close and personal, Bob.
You need to be close. So close they can smell your breath and see the dead insects in your teeth.
oof.
One side got
Another good removal.
always good for a laugh.
He's going to sleep, and maybe we will see him on the pitch later.
Yeah, so he based me twice here with a pretty low armor team, AV7 and AV8, which just gave away free blocks. Free blocks lead to removals. Not always, but there's that chance. As a Skaven team or as a low armor team, you want to limit your opponent, to one block a turn, which is your blitz. And so giving me free blocks just gives me free opportunities to remove his players. So unless you're canceling an assist for a blitz, into trying to take the ball down, or there's some other really important reason, just don't give away free blocks. And that's kind of the core determinant on when to follow a block. Like this guy blocked and got a push. If I had followed, then he could just block me back on his turn, giving away a free block. So if you knock him down, then you can follow, unless you're following into another guy who's on his feet. Oh, that's terrible. 2 turns in a row. Oh, but he re-rolled and got it.
Big guys.
He risked the loner and it worked out. Now he gets to crush. Nice.
Reminds me of the films
Only a stun though.
Nurgling and the
So
Great
generally speaking, you're trying to keep your block count down, the number of times you're blocked, and trying to keep the number of times you block your opponent as high as possible. Because if you outblock somebody by 30 blocks in a game, there's a really good chance his whole team is over here in these two boxes, and yours is looking pretty good. Even without skills like Mighty Blow and Claw and Pylon and all the things that help you kill things. Just plus 30 blocks is just plus 30 attempts.
Brown streak.
Well, that's
So you're going to get more removals. So he's doing it better because he's putting more pressure on, so it's harder to get good blocks. But again, it's like if all of his guys were back a step, I could only blitz one of them. If it didn't work, like I only got a push, then there's a good chance I couldn't even advance. But now I get 2 extra free blocks and a blitz. I can knock 3 of his guys down instead of just potentially 1, and most likely can advance. So that's the difference between basing, which is putting your guy next to him, or not. And you, generally speaking, do not want to do it. I hate to say case in point, but there it is.
Yucks. They're going to be carrying that scar around for the rest of their short life. Looks like
There's another
steak
one.
on the menu tonight.
Painful. If I'm only getting 1 block a turn, at worst, at the very worst, you're only losing 1 guy a turn. If I'm getting 3 blocks a turn or more, your chances go up dramatically. And it's rare that you'll see games go where you're losing 1 guy a turn. It happens, but it's not very likely. So, and a lot of that is just how many blocks did you give away that you didn't have to. And push is the most common result. So they say to expect a push before you throw a block. And if your position is worse after having thrown that push, then reconsider the block at all. It might be better just not to throw the block. Take the wrestle.
And it's fixed down for all.
Interesting choice here. I could dodge away a 3+, or take a 2-die uphill block, because I have block and he doesn't. So there's a decent chance I'll get either a push. Only a skull on one of the 2 dice would be bad. And it's potentially very good. Oh, I just lucked out, yeah. Hello there, Mr. Durden. How are you? Thanks for coming by. Stay a while and listen. I shouldn't have tried, or I know better than to try an English accent, or Scottish, or whatever it is. But the sentiment's all the same. Now he's considering the desperation plays. It was risky, very risky. You know, I like to throw it out every once in a while. If I could do it all the time, I absolutely would, because when you have an English accent, you just sound more legitimate and funnier. I mean, you just get like 10% better at least in both of those categories. So, I mean, why not? But unfortunately, accents aren't my thing, so I just have to sound dumb and illegitimate and less funny. Was this guy stunned? Is that why? Or did I just forget all about him? Whoa! I love that kind of searching. What would it cost me to go here? And it just lights up the screen with dodge rolls and go for it. And the Christmas tree of risk.
Just what are you doing, Chip?
Oh, terribly sorry, Bobby. You caught me polishing my teeth.
Oh, should I GFI to run it in?
Since we are now zapped.
I mean, there's
across
some
the
chance I
world,
could score
I
again.
the Cabal vision. The viewers can see everything.
There's some chance that he could score twice. I want to say that chance is low. I think I'll just throw a couple blocks and run it in.
Players arrive to assist their teammate. There's a trail that's down like a
Or should I exercise some risk discipline and not take the 1 in 36 of dropping the ball? That's what I should do. Yeah, so there's the snake eyes, the 1 in 36 chance of dropping the ball in the end zone. It scatters over here. His two gutter runners run over here and tie the game up. And then I have to go cry myself to sleep in my giant pillow, suckling my thumb in a fetal position.
That's a solid 4.
You know, so the 1 in 36
Give
is,
me
yeah,
another go at the ball now.
might just be worth not doing. The ramifications. Too intense. This is actually a bad lineup, right? Like I was just talking about blocking well. Like if I had gone there instead of here, which is the same cost and movement, I could have pushed him away so that he wasn't basing my guy. So now he gets a free block on this guy when I could have saved myself that by, because you assume the push. And where do you want your guy to end up? And I decided I wanted to give away a free block. So I move this guy here. Now it's hard for him to get a free block. If he goes free block, if he goes here, this guy's canceling it, and he has to dodge in to get to here. So not the end of the world. I use it to cover him. See, that doesn't give an assist. I don't know if he's trying to, but because he's in a tackle zone, if he's going to block this guy, he's in this guy's tackle zone. If he's going to block this guy, he's in this guy's tackle zone. So depending on which guy he's trying to block, or maybe he's just trying to lock them up so they can't move. That looks like what's more likely, since his plan was to blitz with this guy. Got him. Is it gonna hurt? Nope. I got lucky with my armor rolls. I don't care about the block thing on this turn because I'm going to run it in, so I'm just looking for guys to hit. Probably his thrower, since I'm about to cook. You got one back.
Wakey, wakey. One team's got some early knockouts back. Progress is outnumbered. It seems impossible to win. Important thing, you gotta keep possession of the ball and not lose it. Strike back would be terrible.
I gotta work this guy into my lineup. But it's so difficult. I guess for the dodge guy. Yes, a large thud. I am not steering him clear. I feel like I should give him a lot of advice, but yeah, the best advice would probably be just play Dark Elves, right? Like, even Woodies, it's like, if he's gonna go basing with Woodies all day and not even figure out the UI on how to do the leap into the cage, then yeah, he might just be having a bad time. Yeah, it's funny, like, humans, from a newbie experience, like, humans are pretty bad, but they teach you how everything works. It teaches you the game. It teaches you how this skill works and that skill works. So, in some sense, like, high elves are great because they're more forgiving when you're trying to dodge away or pass the ball or hand off the ball or all those things. They can do those goofy long ball, you know, chucks, you know, the long bombs with strong arm or whatever that they designed the team to do, that people really shouldn't be doing, but it does teach you the game, which is, I don't know, there's some value to that. It teaches you how to lose gracefully. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm curious how many rerolls he started with on this team. Like, he has all the gutter runners, right? And he's developed his team to some extent. One thrower, so. But yeah, he just kept piling on the rerolls. Like, he might go all the way to 8 just because. What's wrong with that? Yeah, I mean, knowing as a new player that more TV is a bad thing is tough. Like, most games just teach you the higher your TV, the more bad you are, the more like the more you're gonna flex when it comes to showing people your team. Like, look at me, I got an 1800 team. It's full of dudes with thick skull. It's awesome. Yeah, so that's actually a great point. Yeah. Yeah. Right. They don't know how to burn it off.
The astrograph is made from a compound
Yeah.
of sand, gravel, bones,
Kind of crazy.
the skulls
And
of quiet players' agents.
is that the thing they were trying to combat with that rule? Is that how big a problem is that? You know, like, people stockpiling so they can restart with all fresh rookies when they get wiped out. You know, like, is that really like, oh, way too overpowering for people to be able to recreate their team from scratch? So yeah, was it even necessary in the first place? Really awkward choice. Yeah, that's super true. I guess I see those as two different things. Like, the inducement thing also has a fair number of problems, so they needed to split them off and deal with each of them in the appropriate way. Could have been a lot better, but yeah, if they weren't going to bother, which it seems like they just weren't, you're right. It probably was just, well, we'll put this Band-Aid on and leave it at that. Where's my IG5? There he is.
Is the assist going to be enough to come out on top?
Who put this guy over here?
This player likes to be well assisted.
No. How many blitzes do I get in a turn? Not enough, apparently. Yeah, I know. I should. I hate the grid. Like, I can see the squares without the grid. and I don't know. It's just so cluttered. But I will, man, just for you. The second you leave, it's going off again. Oh no! I gotta get in there.
Yeah, smells like a good old-fashioned fight.
Yeah. Just so much of their UI. And this is a very complicated game to display everything well. But yeah, just so many things about their UI are just like either like decades old and like, or just they just need that extra little bit. Yeah. That's right. Oh no, did I turn it off again? Oh no, it's just during the frenzy. So it turns off sometimes? I haven't really used it. And I get burned by not using it, so I forget where the guard is, and I'll just throw blocks, and oh crap, that's a 1-die. Or a couple games ago, I grabbed the wrong dude to go make the tackle, the Mighty Blow tackle hit, and wasted my blitz. So I get burned by it, but I don't know. I like a clean interface. I'm a minimalist.
Oh dear. Someone's getting tired in the morning. And
Oh, the rain. The rain, the rain, the rain.
This player, the attacker, smells weakness. A loose ball is a dangerous ball.
Pals. For all seasons. Ugh. Well, he's trying a new team after this anyway, so I guess he's not too broken up about these potential injuries. Not protecting the ball very well here. I don't really know what my plan is here. Easy 2 dice on the ball for him. Just dodge this guy away and hit with the thrower. But he just kind of wants to blitz with this guy again. Fair enough.
Two big
Do some
dudes
damage.
Get together and fall on you. It can really hurt.
Oh, he re-rolled it. He had another hit. But it is a bit of...
And that was a very risky.
Oh no, oh.
But it paid off.
Guess he's trying to feed me SPPs. Alright, well that's nice. Always appreciated.
This looks like the end. They can't catch up such a big gap.
Ouch.
All the knockout players are back on the field. How did that?
I'm tempted to go down there and help out myself, Jim. I'm worth at least 3 players. I could do with breaking a few necks and air out the cobwebs.
Despite being in the lead, this team now has to kick the ball to the losing squad.
They'll want to get it back as soon as they can.
That's right. Leaving my guys on the fighting lines for no good reason. Flash of stink.
Nice weather to play.
Oh, there it is. Now the sun comes out.
The player's fist is approximately the same size as his entire opponent. Let's
That's what he's supposed to do.
Yes, the unmistakable sign.
Not on turn 16.
Rolling up into his head. For some time.
No.
Yeah, that's how you take down a rat man, Jim.
A fitting end.
Solid punch to the mangy critter. Stop it.
An incredible rush. I thought my heart would almost beat on more than one occasion.
Jumping around and giggling. Classic elf. So I thought the block difference was going to be a lot higher, but well, I guess with Frenzy every turn. He's getting 2 blocks out of his Roger.
Bit local by playing matches with nearby opponents. Or you can select
Some
a coach
level
to play
ups.
against from anywhere in the world. Yes, even Lustria.
More agility, anyone? Doubles? Agi 5 and guard? I'm turning into wood elves. If I start down this road. Oh yeah. Duh. No, well, you know. Stop it, Lars. Just stop it. Do I know of a good guide about Dark Elves? A large thud. Help him out with that. I mean, one of the greatest old-time tabletop was like Coaches. What was it? bbtactics.com? And that's pretty old school, but still has lots of really good information. bbtactics.com, I think it's called. That's where I learned the ropes. Yeah. For teams and individual positionals and players, you know, there's some pretty good info in there. Not all of it's up to date, and there's obviously some of the choices on there would be disagreed on amongst some of the much better players, much better than me. But it's a great, like, you know, starting point. I'd say the forums, but the forums are kind of a mix of good and bad. I don't know. It's probably still more good than bad, but a lot of people on there are still just kind of trying to figure it out, right? So, yeah, it's a great beginning. So, great game, man. Yeah, I'm gonna finish recording this one, and then I will put it in the collection in the High Elves. This is game 23 versus Skaven, so look for game 23 if you want to rewatch our game with my commentary. There were some newer players in here asking a lot of questions about stuff, so I was talking about that as well as specific things going on in our game. So yeah, no problem. I'm glad you're enjoying the game. Keep at it. If you can get through the rough moments, this game has tons to offer. So the highs are just as good, or the highs are just as high as the lows are low. So yeah, there's some great experiences ahead. You probably already had a few. No, I don't want to do Mighty Blow because
they've got so many twerps coming through on twerp.
I like that on my catchers.
Twerps all my life.
I like these guys to be block, dodge, sidestep.
Notice of them now.
Guard. Because they're more likely to get stuck in with their armor 8. Now I want to roll doubles right here. For sure. But I won't. Block, dodge. Ugh. Can't take a third tackler. Sidestep, I guess. Two tough choices. Oh, thank you, very large sub. Yeah, Plasmoid is also great. You probably find on Plasmoids a lot more statistical analysis too, which can be useful. Like they'll have tables for the odds of fouling a guy successfully versus removing your own player, with all the different skill combinations possible that affect those outcomes. So that's kind of useful to see, just give you a general idea of how good fouling is or how risky it is, things like that. Your chances to like knock a guy down that has blodge and you have various skills, tackle or not tackle and things like that. So gosh, I don't know what to do here. Probably guard.
The Guild of
Stick with my
Bandits
plan.
and Affiliated Trades.
I'm an honorary member, Jim.
Yes, I saw your infamous
But that's also
after-dinner
just sort of a
speech
death
at last
wish.
year's GBAT Awards.
Every time I give guard to
The
one of my
following
blitzers, he
lines
dies.
are really quite wonderful.
I could also just take dodge, but that seems wasteful. I'm taking guard. Try and stop me. sidestep here, I think. I'm gonna have to have some guys that. Thank you very much, Large. That appreciate it. Yeah, a little bit of knowledge goes a long way when you're a new player, like, because you just start out, you're like, I'm going to do some stuff, and I don't know what the chances are, but it's going to be awesome. And then you get into games where you're just turning over every turn, and it can be very frustrating. So having some idea, even a little bit, of how risky the action you're about to take is can give you longer turns and better overall experiences.
Goblin Gambling are a great company to be affiliated with. Any problems you may have are surely coincidental.
Isn't that
Yeah,
the
exactly.
company that you owe a great deal of
Unless you're
bad
humans,
gambling?
then it's just you have no choice to start a turn with 1 and 9.
Nothing to do with my spontaneous
Not true. Throw some
endorsement.
blocks. Not that you can throw any block because everyone's based you and got strength too. So, but that's the idea. Avoid the 1 and 6s and the 1 and 9s until very late, if at all. $16.80. That's getting truly. Truly outrageous. Yeah, I have a real soft spot for humans. I love them. I just don't play them to their strengths. I play them like elves, and they're bad elves, right? Like, at some point I'll learn how to play them. And then I'll probably have a good time, and it will match my desire to win with them. And who am I to make these judgments when Velhape, or whatever his name is, just won the last Champion Ladder Cup tournament with humans? So defied all the odds, showed us all
I'm looking
how it's
forward
done.
to these next few matches, Bob.
So go out and play humans, everyone. They're clearly overpowered. Okay, so we're at, yep, in the hands of Duck, right? Ducky? Or was that just once with Ducky? Yeah, that was really nice because it was a new race, and no one believed in him, and he took them and did really well with them. Yeah, two great coaches, Ducky and Debaser. They also got a slight buff, and I can't remember if it was before or after Ducky won it with them, but I mean, they turned into solid, right? Like, they're great at the start, and they grow pretty well, and when played to their strengths. Oh, that's right, I remember. Yeah, it was like agility and strength everywhere. It's like, come on, refs. A couple of doping tests would be... Let's clean up this mess. Alright, so I'm 19-1-3. I'm not sure that gets me to the top, but let's take a look. Let's take a look. I remember back when I cared about the ladder several seasons ago, when I was playing more seriously. It took a while for the update to happen. Does anybody know
Some of these cameras were both
if
nice shirt, by the way.
that's improved, or do I need to wait a little while to look? Because I don't want to risk if... Oh, there I am. Looks like it updated, so I'm right behind White Whalers. And White Whalers is I think, the top coach for High Elves. Yeah, he's top, so looks like I have to play one more game. Potentially 2 to pass him. Are Witch Elves good on a starting roster? You can do 3 Blitzers and a Witch Elf, but they have one of the higher skill caps, you know, as far as getting the most out of them. Yeah, so a large set is right. I would go with 4 Blitzers and even a runner potentially. Like 4 Blitzers, a runner, 2 rerolls, and the rest linemen is pretty consistent. I think you'll get a kick out of dump off on the runner. And it will help you more often than it will later in your career, because you'll probably be accidentally exposing the ball to blitzes more often, and so dump off is nice for correcting that problem. Obviously good coaches are going to cover for dump off too, but it gives you sort of a last ditch. I found that very useful when I was starting out. And he's also real fast, right? He has 7 movement, and he can get sure hands, and so he can be a pretty useful tool when you're starting out. And it also keeps your blitzers free to just do their thing, which is blitz. So yeah, that's a good point about the frenzy though too. Like frenzies, as you saw with your Rat Ogre, you can go into traps and much more easily than with the Rat Ogre, and but it's really good for sideline play, right? Like, so later on, as you can afford the Witch Elves, grab one, and potentially later on too, and yeah, start learning how they work. A lot of it is just trial and error. Like you'll use the Witch Elf and you'll go, oh sweet, I got to surf someone who's two away from the line. You'll do it, and then she'll get counter surfed because you're left in a bad position. And so you'll learn how to do it and do it better and better with practice. It takes some time. Alright, so the quest continues. Only 6 more wins, Large Thun? That's easy. That's easy.
Have you looked at
right?
Facetune recently? Did you know you have a fan club?
Have you looked at it, Jim? There's a petition to remove you from the air.
Gonna take a quick break, and then let's fire up one more game. See if we can't take that top spot. I will flash it back to this glorious team. That's right. You're always just a spin away from that killer team. I've had my really bad beatdown. One of my 3 losses was against Fanjo with his necromantic team that was just unholy. And yeah, he killed 3 of my guys, 1 of my catchers and both of my blitzers. And it was just like, all right, that was like game 15 or something like that. I was just like, all right, I guess that's the end of my run, but I was able to recoup and get back to a decent point by game 20, which made me think maybe I can qualify with this team. So we'll see how it goes. I'll be back shortly. Yeah, that's exactly how it went. It was like 7 turns, 7 loss, 7 removals. It was just like, okay. Be right back.
Did you know the Spike Magazine trophy was forged in Hellfire, deep beneath the blighted ziggurat of Tsar Nagrund? Many slaves died to create it, but then it was the lowest bid.
Are magic sponges really magical, Bob?
That's a trade secret, Jim.